Thank you. The gentleman's time has expired and yields back. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Alabama's 6th District for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I know a couple of times people have mentioned our friend Doug LaMaffa, and I just want to say, praying for his family. And he was a great friend. Mr. Williams, you know I'm very interested in small modular reactors, and I just want to know where Southern Company is on that. As I understand it, you may have been involved with a private entity in the development of SMRs. Is Southern Company investing in that area?
So thank you for the question, Congressman. You know, our focus obviously has been on the completion of Vogtle Units 3 and 4 and getting those units into service for the benefit of our customers. As we look at the landscape of all the technologies that are out there in front of us, obviously we're interested in all of the technologies that are available. You mentioned our partnership that we have had over many years now, working with TerraPower and the DOE on the molten chloride fast reactor, which is a Gen 4 reactor that we have spent a great deal of time and effort to try to bring that, you know, there's integrated effects testing now occurring at the Idaho National Lab associated with that, and we continue to focus on that. The other areas that we focus on specifically around SMRs is how can we share the lessons that we learned at Plant Vogtle with our construction to those. Not all of those lessons are specific to AP1000s and are absolutely transferable to other technologies, and so how can we help them be successful?
I've asked this question before in regard to recycling spent fuel. Made the point that there are spent fuel rods buried, encased in concrete, buried in 39 states. They retain 90% of their energy generation capacity, and you can recover about 96% of it. I think that's somewhat the experience that they've had in France. Mr. Wagner, you may have been the one that I asked this 3 or 4 years ago, but how long do you think we could operate if we really invested in recycled spent fuel?
So thank you for the question. And I think actually you might have asked this question to one of my colleagues in the past. I do recall, if I recall correctly. By the way, there is no spent fuel rods buried in any states. So let me just note that. They're in casks and dry storage and so forth. And so I just want to, if I may. So there are estimates in terms of how long we could run off of our commercial fuel in terms of powering new reactors. Those estimates vary on different assumptions and in terms of the recovery capabilities. But there are estimates out there that we could run our reactors for 100 years based on that. But it does depend on a number of details.
Right. Someone raised the question about cost, and I think it's about 6% more is what they estimate they're paying in France. But the long-term benefit, I think, more than offsets that. In 24, Congress passed the Prohibiting Russian Uranium Import Act, and with a dual focus of eliminating our reliance on Russian uranium while leveling the playing field for domestic uranium producers to make it more economical, competitive, and revitalizing domestic uranium production. But since that time, Russia uranium has still been flowing to the U.S. under a waiver process. There's been a concerning uptick in Chinese uranium exports to the U.S. I'm very concerned about our reliance on adversarial nations for critical minerals, particularly refined rare earth elements. But Mr. Williams, as a reactor operator, are you concerned about the ongoing influence of state-owned entities in Russia and China on the U.S. nuclear fuel market?
So thanks again for the question. And I can say that, you know, what's in the best interest of our customers in terms of the operation of our units is that we have a safe and secure, reliable supply of our fuel. And we have done that for many, many years. At Southern Company, we've taken a very conservative approach to the sourcing of our fuel, sourcing fuel from, I would say, more friendly nations to our country, and making sure that we have that reliable supply to that. So yes, it is a concern for our company that we have a reliable supply of fuel.
It's one of my top priorities, and I think a top priority of this committee to make sure that we have a secure supply chain, not only of uranium, but also of processed and refined critical minerals and rare earth elements, so that we're no longer dependent on China or any other adversarial nation for those things. Dr. Wagner, you mentioned that about uranium and your testimony and your concerns about our reliance as well. China has successfully converted thorium-232 into uranium-233 in a molten salt reactor. In Alabama, our state legislature passed a joint resolution last April that the governor signed recognizing the value of uranium-233 and offering Alabama as a new home for that material. I think at Redstone Arsenal is among 9 installations chosen by the Army for its next generation nuclear power program, the Janus program. What are your thoughts on expanding thorium reactors in the United States by utilizing the remaining U-233 that we have for fuel?
If I could, the gentleman's time has expired. If you could put that in writing back to the gentleman, we'd greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
yield back.
Thank you very much, gentleman. Yields back the balance of his time.